So I was doing a Ask Me Anything on Instagram type thing yesterday. I think it's still ongoing at the moment. But on there I was asked about drills and vibrato, so I thought that'd be a good topic to kind of cover, as I'm not sure there's loads of stuff about vibrato online, about how I approach vibrato or how I think it's worth practicing. Some of us might have heard like playing in beginners or guitarists when they first start playing guitar, and you hear notes that sound a bit like this. Which there's not much life or movement in those notes necessarily. One part of the kind of puzzle to making things sound more melodic is to introduce a thing called vibrato. Now, vibrato in a singer, you hear the most obvious examples of it would be in opera singing, where the note moves up and down around where the centre of a note should be in a consistent fashion. In guitar, it's slightly different in that a note can only really move, unless you're using a whammy bar or a vibrato bar, tremolo bar, whatever they call it, can only really go up. So slowed down, what vibrato kind of is so if you look at my wrist, so the idea of vibrato is to consistently bend to and from a certain point in the note. So between players, vibrato is kind of a unique signature thing. So there's players that have like a quick type vibrato, there's players that have a slower, more subtle vibrato. There's an Alan Holdsworth vibrato which goes the opposite way of across the neck rather than up and down. But so you need to work out what sounds good to your ears or what sounds good for the song. For me, I think of vibrato as being separate from timing, although to practice vibrato it is sometimes good to put on a metronome, for instance, and say, well, I'll just do this right now. Try and give yourself some sort of time to work with. So if I'm So the thing to look for is consistency in the sound, and also consistency across fingers. So what you saw I was doing there is practicing on just the B string. And you want to try and get things to sound uniform across each string. Considerations, are you going to do your vibrato going up or down. My main direction is up. Unless I get onto like the low E and A string and I don't have room to without that happening. So that's when I start to go down. Speed of vibrato is one of the aspects. How far is the note that you're aiming to sort of touch? The crest of your vibrato is another consideration. The wider that interval is, the more pronounced the vibrato sounds. Until you start to get into sort of crazy kind of Ingve territory. Other considerations: stick a vibrato at the end of a bend. And this is one area where you can sort of reverse the concept. So you could say, well, I've got my target note, and you can slightly release the bend. Slightly release the bend to introduce that kind of vibrato wobble. Other things to be aware of: vibrato can be kind of an expressive tool to use. And so, like, in the same way that you can use speed and dynamics and all these other sort of phrasing aspects of playing, so when it comes to approaching a solo, you don't necessarily want to do your fastest playing all the time. You don't want to be playing loudly all the time. Kind of, I think good expressive playing is about light and shade. So with that, you might want to consider vibrato as one of those tools. So not every note needs to have it. Vibrato can be introduced to a note as the note's happening. This is something you might hear a singer do, something I've mentioned before, but the first part of the note, you're kind of establishing pitch, and you can bring vibrato in after that, and that can sound quite expressive. So those are my thoughts on vibrato and how to practice it. I think there's a John Petrucci video on this, and it's the same kind of concept, I think. Make sure that your vibrato is consistent. And consistent across fingers. consistency is the key to vibrato. You can think about it in terms of being sort of timeless, like some modulation, like a tremolo. Sometimes you wouldn't try and keep that in sync with the tempo. Sometimes maybe you would for effect. So think about whether your vibrato is going to be influenced by the timing of a piece. Vibrato again is something like speed to be used, and other phrasing devices to add expression to a solo. It doesn't mean your vibrato needs to be all the way on all the time. Something else to watch out for is where is your vibrato coming from. So I think of it as like sort of if you were shaking your watch. So for me it's coming from the wrist. I have seen players that do it from the finger, and to me it looks slightly awkward. I don't know if it is awkward, but that might be the way that you choose to do it. But for me personally, I go for the wrist. Any questions, if you drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching. These are my thoughts on vibrato.